Welcome, everyone. I'm Nora Ali here with Mike Novy, the CEO of 818 Spirits. Mike, great to have you with us today.
Nice to be here. Thanks, Nora.
So, when we talk about celebrity alcohol brands, it feels like they've really had a movement forward since 2022, right? We have obviously 818 Tequila launched by Kendall Jenner in 2021. You have LeBron James, The Rock, Kevin Hart have also gotten into the tequila game. What is it about liquor brands specifically that make it so appealing to celebrities?
I think everybody can relate, but most people can relate to the category, so you don't have to be a tech expert or have some sort of niche interest. It certainly touches a lot of lives, including the celebrities who have jumped in. And I think that's part of it. It's also obviously, stating something of the obvious, it's fun and social category, right? So most of these people are getting into something that they enjoy participating in themselves. They're consumers of tequila or vodka or whiskey or wine or beer or whatever it is. And also, and I don't think that this is something that I could really kind of understate, your friends, your family, everybody loves talking about this, right? It's kind of like jumping in and owning a restaurant or something. It's something you can share with your friends, you can host, you can kind of be a part of something that's really enjoyable. So I think fundamentally that is a big part of it. It's also a good business. The alcohol business has been really durable. It's been in, pretty much continuous growth, depending on, on a macro sense. There's category fluctuations, but generally speaking, it's a good, solid business. And done properly, the celebrities can actually make a really significant impact on the business, so they can be a part of something where they can contribute if they have the desire to do that. I think all of those things kind of put together make this a category that's really just attracted a lot of that celebrity attention and activity.
What do you mean by done properly? Because it feels like there is a subtle approach when it comes to utilizing Kendall Jenner for 818, because I know even at the initial launch, her name wasn't out there as much. And even if you look at the Instagram for 818, which has 1.1 million followers, I actually had to scroll a little before I even saw Kendall or even her name. So how do you strike that right balance, and what is to you doing it properly with Kendall?
So striking the right balance, or maybe what's proper and what's not. I think that there are several different categories of celebrity brands or celebrity involved brands. And, they range from the extreme of where a celebrity, there's an existing brand, been around forever. The parent company is looking to energize maybe something that's lost some energy, and they do an endorsement deal with a celebrity. And I'll kind of talk about the pros and cons of each of these things. But, that's kind of one end of the spectrum. And some of these things that you're seeing in terms of celebrity relationships with brands are that. And then you kind of take it. So it's not the celebrity's idea, right? It was like a big company working through a celebrity's manager or agent, and then the celebrity gets involved and suddenly is in love with this product, and always has. Or at least that's the way the story goes. And then you go to the other end of the spectrum, which is where I like to believe that we sit, which is you have someone who, in this case, again, happens to be a celebrity who had a business idea and figured out how to put a team together to bring the business to life. And, that is, again, has a certain set of benefits and challenges. And again, I can kind of talk about that. And then there are things in the middle, which are generally speaking, where there's kind of a friends and family sort of a deal, where you may be an entrepreneur who's looking for some capital or looking for some sweat equity. You have a friend who has a big presence in the marketplace, be it through you're an athlete or you're on social media or something like that. And then that person gets pulled into the business and helps become really a part of the marketing of the brand. So I think done properly, on our side, as the industry has grown, and when I industry meaning alcohol in general, but again, specifically within the tequila category, where a lot of celebrities have jumped in, and the consumer is getting progressively more engaged and sophisticated, authenticity matters, right? So what is doing it the wrong way is when the celebrity doesn't connect with the product. And as crazy as it sounds, there are celebrities out in the world right now, some pretty big name celebrities who have their names associated with brands, and they've been publicly sober, or they've been really modern drinkers, and suddenly they have this product that they fall in love with. It's like the consumer's not that dumb, right? So They may have a celebrity affinity, but there's no kind of resonance with the category of the brand. On the other end of the spectrum, going back to like over to us, the good news, the way of doing it right, which is, again, I'll talk about what I think we're doing right, and happy to talk about the challenges that we have along the way, is the idea solid? So again, you may have a really well-known person, someone who has a massive following on social media or has a broad presence in the world because they're a movie star, or again, like an incredibly well-known musical artist. The fundamentals of the business idea have to be good, right? So you can, again, have a big name with a bad idea. And then as you kind of like put together the idea to make it turn into concept to execute in reality, the other side of it is really having an understanding of the nuance of the category. So in the industry, and again, I'll touch on that in a second, but the alcoholic business industry, as we kind of touched on at the start of our conversation, attracts a lot of attention, and it looks fun, and it looks like it'd be easy. And again, it's kind of like owning a restaurant. It looks fun. It looks easy. It's hard, right? And it's hard, and it's competitive, and you have to be really smart and good, hardworking business person every day just to survive, much less to succeed. So there are also, again, a lot of celebrity kind of brand concepts where I don't think the person really figured out how much work was going to go into it, and how much of their time and their energy and their commitment. And so, what we tried to do with 818, and again, I think that we've more succeeded in this than failed, but we've learned from our fails when we had them. Kendall had a really good idea. She didn't know how to kind of put it all together into a really specific business plan. And her point of view was that tequila is a fun category. It's a category she had participated in as a consumer. Her family had been involved in when they'd go on trips to Mexico. And it was just something that was kind of an interesting, product category that she was familiar with from a consumer perspective. She also saw that there were a lot of really fantastic tequila brands in the world. But she said to me, I see a lot of tequilas where I really like the packaging and the brand positioning, but I'm not in love with what's inside the bottle. And then there are things that I love to drink, but the branding I don't think really connects with consumers, and there's something kind of lacking there. And she saw some white space in the category to go in and create a brand that was, casual and approachable, but also respectful of tradition, that was, high quality but affordable, like all of these, kind of like, balancing points. And so when she articulated that, what we did is we put together a business plan, which is based off of 3 pillars, which is about magical moments, which is fun and social and sharing great times with friends and family. And then it's craftsmanship. And she wanted something that was going to be extremely well made, or she didn't want to do it. And then the last thing was social responsibility. She wanted to create a company that was going to do good in the world. And so we put those together, and those became our 3 pillars. So everything we do is built on those. So, we think doing it the right way is, in our case, having a person who has had a great idea and also happens to be really well known, so has a great platform to speak from.
So she is intimately involved, and yet it is still product first, quality first, and it's something that she believes in. And you said that authenticity really matters to consumers, which is, very apparent to your point in discerning customers, but obviously price point is very important as well. And inflation has been a key economic issue impacting U.S. households over the past couple of years. You all decided to reduce prices of your products last year. Talk to me about how consumer wallets and appetites have been changing, and what went in the decision to change prices and how it's impacted the business.
Yeah. So when we were putting together the business plan, again, this is now, you go back to almost 4 years ago, within the tequila category, the premium, ultra premium, and luxury categories, that's where all the growth was. That's where all the action was. It was almost like the higher your price point, the greater growth you were going to see. And people were doing that, right? They were putting products on the market at extremely high price points, perhaps unjustifiably high price points. The sweet spot in the industry for growth and consumer, kind of the total available market of consumers, and kind of like what looked like the hot spot, was about $40 to $50 for a 750 milliliter bottle, your standard bottle of tequila. And there were a couple of main competitors in that space, and Casamigos would be one, Don Julio would be another, that were really kind of paving the way in the industry in terms of what success looked like in that category. So we developed a plan and said, that's where you need to be. That's where we need to be. That's where all the action is. And we launched with our Blanco being about $40 a bottle, and then our Reposado was $50, and then our Añejo $60. So we just kind of laddered up by $10 increments. And we had a really successful launch in that moment. We were at the time, we were doing really well around the country, but specifically not as well as we wanted to do in Texas. That led us to do some market research of, what's different in Texas? What's different with 818 in Texas? And so we did some pretty simple, quick, but thorough market research on Texas versus other states in the U.S., other core states in the U.S., kind of get a Texas versus the rest of the country kind of assessment. And what we got back was really interesting to us, because actually on all the key metrics of, like we were trying to understand the attributes of like, what do they think about Kendall as a founder? What do they think about that founder story? What do they think about our brand positioning? What do they think about our packaging? What do they think about our liquid? What is do they like the profile, the flavor of our tequila? And what about our price? And interestingly enough, because we were trying to figure out how to solve the problem in Texas, Texas scored higher on all of those attributes than the rest of the country. What it turned out to is we had a bad sales execution problem, not a consumer problem. And we've solved that, and Texas has exploded for us in terms of volume. But across the country, what kept coming back is people saying, you are an occasional purchase for us. You're an affordable luxury, but you are a luxury. And so they kept saying, we would buy you more, but you're out of our price range. And so we'll purchase 818 maybe a few times a year, and in between we'll purchase other competitors. And so we said, we're targeting, we've priced ourselves, we've been misaligned pricing against our consumer segment. Our consumer is not buying these other big brands that were priced at the $40, $50, $60 range. They were probably buying, 30, 40, 50. They were another price bracket below. They're literally telling us this, right? We don't have to guess. They're saying, you guys, we want you, but we can't afford you. So we actually started to pivot on that pretty quickly, when actually, this is last year, what seemed like the bottom was falling out of the alcoholic beverage industry in a lot of different categories, specifically at the $50 and above price points, as the economy maybe was softening, or perception of the economy was softening, interest rates, credit card rates, like all of these things. You can go through the list. Everybody's still trying to understand this, right? Is it perceived stress on your wallet, or is it real? But discretionary income was certainly being reevaluated in how it was being spent, right? So we did this while there were so there's a micro issue of our misalignment against the consumer, and then there's this macro issue of the economy, and it all converged at the same time, and business just blew up, took off, accelerated as soon as we made that move. So that's kind of how it all came to be.
Yeah. And you had said earlier on that the category of alcohol generally has been a durable category, is a durable business. It's a good business. But there have been a lot of studies recently that fuel this narrative that Gen Z is consuming less alcohol. I've seen it myself amongst my millennial peers as well, is just trying to drink less. Is this a trend that you're seeing? And is 818 doing anything to get ahead of that?
So yes, it's a trend that we're seeing. I would say that there's more. Well, there's I guess there's both maybe there's like a health perception side of this, that people just don't want to consume as much alcohol. There's also perhaps a caloric perception of like, I'm going to just be careful on the number of calories I'm putting into my body. There's certainly competition with other categories like cannabis. There's lots of different things that fall into this. But what we're seeing all kind of falls under that, like the consumers. We have a really highly engaged group of consumers, and what we're seeing and hearing from them is there's just a more deliberate consumption pattern now. So, I'm Gen X, right? So, and my daughter's Gen Z. I have a 23-year-old daughter. The difference in how we behave is pretty stark, right? Like my friends growing up, like we drank the cheapest stuff or whatever our friends told us was going to be good, right? And when we didn't have as much money, we just bought cheaper stuff. What we've seen in terms of an evolution of Gen X to millennial to Gen Z is that I'd say there's greater engagement. There's certainly more tools to do research, social media, available of information and engagement and kind of opinion leader sharing of information. And so I think people are more discerning in terms of what they drink in alcohol. There's more information sources to kind of filter out and help them make decisions. They're deciding I think, to drink things that are better in general, and better meaning that maybe they're higher quality, better in that they have they might be better quality ingredients, like better product from the beginning. Maybe it's, again, depending on your choices, like less calories or something along those lines, and maybe they're drinking less, but when they drink, they want to drink something that's good. And then the other part of it is also that we've seen this, the growth curve for alcohol has been nonlinear. And anytime there's economic shifts in the marketplace, you see trading around in terms of consumer behavior, right? So there's also that as well. People will trade up and down, but it generally continues to be on an upward, slope, but again, nonlinear, where, as you get used to better products, it's really hard to go back, right? So many people will tell the stories of how they had really bad hangovers off of bad experiences, perhaps in college, drinking really cheap tequila. Well, most people don't go back to that once they've gotten into the world of more premium products. So, we're falling into that category of, maybe the business opportunity would be bigger for us if there wasn't this shift in consumption, but our consumer appreciates the quality. They're appreciating, again, like our social responsibility position. Like they're choosing us for reasons that are intentional on our side in terms of like who we are as a brand, maybe instead of purchasing another product. So like, I think we're part of a repertoire. They're probably drinking, again, cannabis. They may be drinking THC or CBD drinks or something like that, as well as tequila. But when they're drinking tequila, they're kind of staying with us. So what we're doing, going back to then the follow-up on your question of like, what is 818 doing about that? We're trying to be really clear in terms of our position and talking about our quality, talking about, we're a brand to choose because, we give back in the world. And like, if you're going to drink tequila, drink a product like 818 that's well-crafted and is a thoughtful business. And that's been working. Like that messaging has buffered us from, some of the market forces or the macroeconomic forces that we're all seeing.
Would you enter any new categories, i.e. in cannabis or in non-alcoholic beverages?
Not under 818. Because 818 is a tequila, and 818 is going to stand for what I just talked about in terms of our brand position. But, certainly, it was actually a dinner conversation on Wednesday. And I was saying we're with Chris and Kendall is, would we ever want to get into other categories? Like there's lots of, you've seen it in an adjacent company come up with Sprinter vodka soda, which is Kylie's RTD. We intentionally didn't do an 818 RTD. That was an intentionally, different position, different products, vodka soda. It's about fun and portability, and it's a slightly different positioning, right? Or very different positioning. We could do that, right? We could do non-alc beverage. We could do cannabis beverage. There's other areas that we could go into for sure as a group of entrepreneurs, I would say.
That's exciting. Last question quickly. You have Ryan Reynolds with Aviation Gin doing fun collaborations with Deadpool and Wolverine, tapping into the X-Men, MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You have the whole Jenner Kardashian universe to play with. What's your approach to collaborations within that ecosystem and also in general for 818?
So in general, we've tried to, I'd say broadly speaking, we try to start with kind of the consumer dynamic, and we look at areas of overlap and opportunity to do collaborations. Like what is 818 about, and what's happening with kind of like consumer behavior in the world where we see like a really kind of interesting intersection. So when we've done collaborations, it's always driven by kind of looking at that kind of consumer, the Venn diagram and the overlap. And if that happens to be a Jenner Kardashian family business, great. But the ones that we've done, the collaborations that we've done, like with Emma Chamberlain Coffee, or with Rayo's with their pasta sauces, have not been Jenner Kardashian family activity. So, but they've worked extremely well for us. So we'll continue to do things like that. You'll see hopefully kind of like fun and surprising and engaging brand collaborations. And then we like to do a lot of events, and I call it more experiential collaborations, where like we want consumers to be able to interact and enjoy 818 in person. So, like we've done now a few years at Coachella of kind of being outside the festival and doing a pop-up. And this year's Outpost that we did, where people could experience 818, they could actually experience Sprinter as well. And then we had a bunch of other kind of collaborative brands, although they weren't brand collaborations, come in and participate in this kind of festival that we created. And for the first time in my very long career in this industry, we actually had people paying us to come and participate. Usually an alcohol brand has to pay sponsorship to be a part of something like this. We got almost $250,000 out of other brands who wanted to be a part of our pop-up. And we sold 1,000 tickets to that in the first 15 minutes. And it had 1.3 billion social media impressions. And so like that kind of stuff works. And then we've also done things. This is kind of, again, it's kind of an experiential collaboration, but with our food and beverage partners. We did this year. We've tried to start to kind of own August 18th as 818 Day as kind of our own holiday. And so, this year with some of our biggest and best nightlife and restaurant partners, we did a pop-up, or we did an event at the Nice Guy in West Hollywood, at Casadona in Miami, and at Lavo in London. And it sold out in 2 minutes. Like the world, all of these things, all three of them were put on sale at the same time, sold out in 2 minutes. So like we're doing things like that where then consumers can come and enjoy an experience of 818 with one of our partners. And so it's kind of a different kind of collaboration rather than just like a brand collab. But again, that's how we're looking at it, is kind of create unique experiences, do something different, do something surprising. You can have an espresso martini, but instead of vodka, it's going to be reposado tequila. Or you can make pasta sauce, but instead of vodka, it's going to be Blanco tequila. Like you're going to see things like that continue with us.
That's great. Well, Mike, we will leave things there. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Nora. It was fun.